Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I will answer the question, what is the difference between standard, methodology, and tools? So let's get right into it. Sylvain Gauthier here, your executive producer, and let's talk about the difference between standards, methodologies, and tools in the project management context. If you Google project management, you will find so many things, right? You will find standards, you will find all kind of methodologies, different approach also versus methodology. We're going to try to sort these things. And there will be gazillions of tools, such as software for scheduling, software for risk management, etc. So there's a lot of tools that exist. People are selling training for tools, certain are selling training for methodology, certain are selling training for standards, and then on top of it, certain of these trainings are for developing individuals to become better project manager, and others are for more organization-wise, how do you structure yourself, for example, to put in place a certain methodology, or even the management of portfolio, for example, how does that work? And how do we use that as a tool or a strategic approach to get business results? So what we're going to try to do in this video, it's a short video, we're going to try to understand what's the big difference between all of these. And so we could sort it out next time that you go and you need a course, you could understand, is that a course versus the standard? Is that a course versus a methodology? Is this a course versus a tool? And how does that fit in my own development? So it's a little bit about that. So let's push me a little bit in the corner. Let's get this slide a little bit bigger. So let's take a look here. I'm here in the corner. Let's reposition. So we're going to go right there in the frame. So we're going to stack tree level, standard, methodology, and a bunch of tools that goes on top of methodology. Now, standards, let's talk about this, okay? What is standard? Standard defines what needs to be done on a project. And what needs to be done on a project are the same thing whether you do a project in construction, a film, you do a continuous improvement, you develop an IT project, you do a manufacturing type of project. It doesn't matter what type of project, the what needs to be done will be the same in all of these things. So for example, on the standard level, you will have, key phases such as initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, closing. Those are the standard things that you will do. And there's different knowledge area. If you follow, for example, the PMBOK standard, that you should be covering at each phase or certain knowledge area more than others in planning, for example, and then others in other phase. So the point is, the standard, the what needs to be done, okay, is the actual standard that you need to master at the basic, okay? The methodologies define the how you're going to do things, how you're going to do the project. Now, that's totally different if you're going to do a methodology for a construction project, an IT project, a film. All of them will use different set of phases to go through them, different life cycle, okay? And these will be tailored to the actual type of project that will be done. So in terms of standard, if I go back to standard, there's 3 or 4 in the world right now. Okay, there's one that and we'll see after that. But then after that, it's very limited. And let's say the one that is the mostly used in the world and the one that I believe everybody should be aware is the American standard from the Project Management Institute. I'll just show you what it is in a minute. But there's not many. However, methodologies, oh my God, there's a lot out there. Okay? And there's 2 big categories now of methodologies that are, let's say, going side by side in organization. You have the traditional type of methodologies, life cycle, that are defining certain phase, certain key points of decision, certain deliverables to be done in a phase, and then a decision point, and then we move to the next phase. We call that sometimes waterfall. We call it by phase. We call that we call that the traditional one. And this is probably the one that is mostly used, and definitely there's a lot of similarity, although the methodology and the life cycle could be completely different between like producing a movie and construction. However, the kind of approach and the standards attached to this is similar. So it would be like, for example, the PMBOK standard that I'll show you in a minute. So it is attached to a same kind of thing. It's just the phase are different and the life cycle is different. But the whole thinking and the whole approach, using a project manager, using a project plan, the whole bit is the same. Okay. The second approach that is it's now getting more and more present in organization and is there to stay and it's there to grow. It's all called, regarding the practice of Agile. Okay. Agile is not necessarily a standard yet. Okay. It's called a practice guide or something like that, with PMI, but it doesn't have the status of a standard. And Agile is not a methodology by itself. There are methodology under Agile. So, for example, you have Scrum, you got DSDM, you got Extreme Programming, you got Kanban, and there's about 10, 11, let's say, official Agile methodology. But there's also people doing their own way Agile, because let's put it this way. Agile, what it is instead of a project plan, you're looking at an iteration plan. It's a set of iteration, and there's, different things that we accomplish in these iteration, and it gives you the results that is, let's say, more focused, which is going to be the topic of another video when we're going to be drilling more on the difference of methodology, and we'll put in perspective Agile. So you might very well encounter today in the same organization projects that are done with traditional way, with a waterfall or the different life cycle with custom phase, and also another project or a sub-project or portion of the project that is done with Scrum, for example. The challenge for whoever has to integrate that, if it's a program manager, a portfolio, or a project office, is to be able to build that interface between these two so we know where we stand, etc. So methodology, okay, it's better for you to know the standard, because once you master the standard, it allows you to move from one methodology to another methodology to another methodology, because if you understand what needs to be done, if I'm moving from, and this is my personal experience, I've been doing, for example, live shows with Cirque du Soleil and Franco Dragon, and part of the shows, there is a construction of a theater, and then they have the creative side, and then you have the whole logistics side, production side, which is three different type of project. One is traditional life cycle of construction. One is more creative, very much agile with lots of iterations. So, for example, when you put the show together, there's a lot of rehearsal, bringing everybody together. Let's take a look at what we have. Let's go back to the next 2 weeks and do something else. Might not be called Scrum, but it's iteration. And the other one, which is also another way, which is a different life cycle, which is going to be like a lot of procurement, establishing your step, etc. So another life cycle. So as the leader of this kind of multi-project program approach, which is usually a producer, you will have to deal with all of these environments. So that's why understanding the fundamental of each one allow you after that to rapidly connect in the methodology. So for example, I could go into the construction of the theater, ask the question, okay, how you do the planning here? Okay, I have a frame. This is a planning phase. There's initiation. How do you initiate? What kind of charter we're producing here? Oh, we're not calling it a charter. We call that the mandate, or call that something else. Okay, this is how they do things. Okay, how do you do your plan? Okay, and then I could understand the plan is done this way. The plan for my logistic, and design of the equipment and everything, and the procurement will be different. Okay, so how do you do that? How do you do the planning? I would say this is the way we do it. And I go to my friends in the Scrum area. So I say, okay, show me your iteration. Show me your iteration plan. How many iteration? What is the backlog to start with? What is the velocity we're planning at this stage? So I could be functional because at the base I master the what. So I'm always said to people, okay, if you are new to this, get a course on the what. Now, usually typical course will be aligned to the PMBOK, okay? So let's take a look at what the hell is the PMBOK. The PMBOK is this book generated by PMI. PMI is a Project Management Institute. We're at 6th edition. Watch out, there's supposed to be a 7th edition coming up this year, and we're not sure yet when this thing's going to come out. And apparently there's a lot of change. So, sometimes I'm just wonder if they just do these changes just to confuse us at the end of the day, because a lot of the change from, I'd say, from the 4th editions are not necessarily really value added. Pretty much change everything, but not necessarily helping in the project management portion. That being said, the standard is the basis. And is it a good standard? Is there better standard like the others? I think these other standards could be better because they're competency-based, okay? I've seen the standard in Europe, competency-based, basically looking more like what competency you need to develop yourself. And we're going to measure versus the PMBOK, which is really process-based, right? Do you understand the processes that you have to go through, the tools and technique, the input that you have to do, and the output that you have to generate? So it's a series of process and interconnected process and sub-process that makes that standard. The point is, you should start with that as a base. Like, typically it's called fundamental of project management, and you will see usually the course outline will be aligned to the body of knowledge and the process, the 5 key process: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and control, and closing. Okay, so that will be the course. So that's the what. Don't be surprised if in that course you're sitting with people from different field. Okay, I teach that course, and I got people that are coming from lawyers, I've got accountant, I've got engineers, I've got IT people, I've got marketing people. It doesn't matter where you come from because you're learning the what, okay? That's not the same thing when you're learning a methodology which is very targeted at a certain industry, a certain sector, a certain type of project. There's no need to bring people that don't fit with that type of project because they're going to waste their time, okay? So that's why a fundamental would be basic. Usually you can get that at a university, but a lot of the professional development company will provide this course, okay? Also, typically, learning and passing the certification of PMP, okay, which require you to pass an exam with PMI. And, well, I'll let you go get the details somewhere on the PMI website in terms of qualification for that. The point is, usually, the questions are in line versus the PMBOK, but nowadays they have increased a little bit the scope. They have another portion also that you need to be aware. But you will find a lot of courses that are learning the fundamental, but also courses that are preparing you for the exam. You got to be careful. Preparing for the exam sometimes is targeted towards learning the question, and versus learning the real fundamental, the what needs to be done. A good fundamental, you should know, at the end of it, when you finish initiation, what is the output, right? The charter should be your output, right? And you should have done the kickoff, certain things. When you finish your planning, you should have your project plan, and you should know how to build a project plan, okay? That's, to me, it's good fundamental to start with. And then after that, learning certain tool for monitoring and controlling, so you can keep track of your costs and things like that. And also some leadership skills that needs to be able to execute down the line. So it's got to be like this, okay? Learning how to pass the exam, it's one thing. So for those of you that go for the exam, I say separate it, okay? Invest in learning a good fundamental. Learn this, less learning all the pieces of the PMBOK. Learn that, and then if you go and say, okay, I got like 24 hours on this, I still have to do like 11 hours for my 35 hours. Now the 11 hours, I want to spend it on preparing the exam. And you will find vendors that are just focused on that, okay? So that's the standard that what needs to be done. It is good to start with that, okay? Why? Because now you know the what. After that, you could build on that one, learning a methodology, learning on something like that. Now, you could understand the PMBOK is aligned with the traditional type of way of doing project with life cycle, with a project manager, with a project plan, the whole bit, right? It's not necessarily aligned with Agile, even though they try to put a chapter on this, has nothing to do with Agile, okay? The real Agile, there is another guide, and it's a different approach, okay? So again, if you feel that in your organization I should know Agile, there's also a course that introduce you to, let's see, the philosophy of Agile, because it's a very important thing. It's a philosophical change at the base that brought Agile, right? It's a different ways of attacking project, and you need to understand that before you get into a Scrum master course or any things like that. You need to be an Agile person, and that's why it's important to spend a day or two. And usually you got a couple of you have many providers that will provide you that 2 days where you could spend time of learning about what it is being Agile, okay? Because I just said it. There's two things. There's doing Agile and there's being Agile. And it's two different things, okay? Doing Agile might be Scrum, but if you're not Agile, if you're not being Agile, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be a fake Agile. So being Agile is also important so you could do Agile. And that's why I say I'm encouraging you, grab that. It's a fundamental. It's not a standard yet, but I'm sure somebody's working on to make it a standard. And once you understand that, then go and learn the methodology, Scrum or whatever is used in your field. But like, for example, I see in different areas, like, for example, I'm in Montreal. Montreal Scrum is big, okay? It's kind of the one that seems to be winning versus Kanban or versus others. So I would say, once you understand Agile, what it is to do Agile, being Agile, go and you could learn a methodology. Okay, so this is the standard. This is the base. We've learned that, and then we could focus on how we're going to do it. Okay. Now, there's a whole bunch of tools that will be had to your methodology, to your life cycle that you're defining. So, for example, if you define an initiation, we're going to get approval, we're going to get this, and you're going to be building a project charter. Here's the template of the charter. Here's the template for doing the business case. If there's a business case, is there a feasibility study? We might set up a whole bunch of tools for people to say, to go through with your project in the organization, you have to use these tools. Set of templates, okay? For example, templates for this, template for that, the spreadsheet for this, the spreadsheet for that. Software, okay? Sometimes people see tools as just a big mother of all software. No, there's plenty that does project, with very little software, okay? And Excel and PowerPoint and Word. Now, it's not the best, because once you're going to have to get into a complex project where you have a lot of resources, you have to manage your costs, you're going to need some more powerful tool. But you don't need it to manage the project. You might need it to make decisions regarding resource, regarding your cost, status of your cost, because you need to get the information from system. You might need to connect with the organization so you get the proper information. To actually manage your project, you don't need very fancy tools. But, of course, today, there's a lot of people who works in this business. You got to be careful of not making the mistake of learning project management by learning a tool, okay? And say, oh, I'm going to have a course on Microsoft Project, and then I'll learn how to become a project manager because I got this course. That's the worst thing you could do, okay? You don't learn managing project by mastering the tool. You need to know what needs to be done, how we're going to do it, and after that, the tool is there to support you. It's not there to drive anything, okay? So don't make that mistake. Build it properly, because learning a tool is not turning you into a project manager, turning you into an administrator of the tool. It's a big difference as far as I'm concerned. So the tools, there will be a lot, and the tool will be aligned to the life cycle they're going to be putting in place, okay? And that's, you got to, if you have many different life cycle within the same, probably they're not going to have the same tools. Like, I go back to my example, the theater is not using the same tools to manage their project than my design technical and the procurement, which is using another set of tools because they have different things to do, okay? And if I bring my Agile folks in the portrait with the Scrum, they have, again, completely different set of tools. They have Jira, for example, Jira is a tool that is used, and they would have their own burn rate chart and their own backlog reports and their own stories driven type of writing the story. So the environment will be different, but this is, your playground. Okay, understanding in the environment that I am, what it is that we're using as a standards. First question, what do we use as a standard? Do we have Agile? Do we don't? And so here's our standard. We're aligned to the PMBOK, so we need to do it. Okay, so I understand that. What methodology do we have that is tied to, let's say, the PMBOK, and what methodology we have that is tied to Agile? Okay, so these two, we should understand that. And then what tools are attached to my methodology, the life cycle, so I could understand that. Understanding your playground, that's the number one thing that you need to do. Okay, that being said, let's conclude on this one, right? So standard methodology and tools are getting more complicated in organization. Why? Because in the past we were saying, well, we're going to put forget about the standard, which is going to learn. We're going to put a methodology, a life cycle. We're going to have some tools, some template. You learn that, and you drive your project like that, and you're good. It's no longer that. Okay, we have to be ready and recognize that there is no such a thing of one methodology fits all. You could do everything with that methodology. That does not work. Okay, we understand that methodology needs to be adapted to the type of project. So, what's the optimum, right? I mean, I'd say you could have 2, 3, and sometimes 4 different methodology to manage. So that means the project office got to be able to deal with that, right? And a portfolio person has to be able to manage project from different methodology within their portfolio. And even program, they might have within their program different methodology from different projects. So the challenge is there. But now I'm hoping that this video was helping to tell you to sort that out. And you should recognize, for example, if you're looking for training, should I go for a fundamental? Should I go for a specific methodology? Or should I go for a tool? See you on the video on breaking down more on the methodology. I've just covered a little bit about that, but we'll take a look at what do I mean by a methodology waterfall. So if you don't know, you'll see, and a methodology Scrum, but also or if you want Agile, but also more and more companies are looking to merge the two and create what we call an hybrid, and you'll see that on the next video.